We are back with another episode of the Sky Society podcast. And today I am so excited to be chatting with Amelia Clay. She is a results-oriented consultant with over 9 years of experience. She's lived abroad for 9 years, has worked at PayPal, Meta, and has a ton of inspiring and actionable lessons to share with us today. So welcome, Amelia.
Thanks for that awesome intro, Natalie. Nice to meet you.
So excited to have you on the podcast. Amelia and I were chatting right before on just some of the stuff we're going to jump into. And I have a really good feeling this episode is going to be very, very actionable. So I'm really excited to jump in. But before we do all of that fun stuff, Amelia, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Awesome, for sure. So I am currently based in Austin, Texas. Most recently, I've been held a program manager position at PayPal and Meta, and I'm super passionate about customer advocacy marketing.
Amazing. And I never asked you, so I'm in Austin too. Where in Austin are you located?
I'm in East Austin, right by Trailhead, Springdale area. What about you?
Amazing. Everyone is going to East. I feel like all my friends are moving to East Austin. It's the news place. Everyone who tells me too that they've lived in Austin for a while, they're like, no one would ever go on East Austin. It used to be so dangerous. And then now it's like literally everybody lives in East Austin, but I'm south. I'm over by Zelker. I've been here for about 2 years now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yes, big advocate of trying to get everyone to move to Austin. As like anytime I have a guest on from Austin, I'm like, we got to get more people to come out here.
Yes, it's the best. We spend all of our time outside.
Yes, although we're raising rent by too much. No one, just because everyone is moving here.
Yeah.
Okay, Amelia. So one of the themes is that you are really, really intentional about where you go and the steps that you've made in your career. So you've worked at some really cool places, had some awesome experiences. And one of the ways that you do that is by being really intentional. And I think a good example we can start off with is how you got your job at Jungle Scout. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a pretty funny story. So I actually got a Goodwill interview because I wouldn't stop emailing and messaging on their social media. And the founder was just like, okay, I see that you really want to be here. Let's just hop on a call. And it was great because I had never been in tech before. I had my own startup at the time, and I was in a position where I needed to raise some money in order to have a new inventory run. And they were really flexible with me. And they're like, well, your social media company, your sandal company has a great social media account. Why don't you just land there? You'll figure it out. And so the rest is history.
So you literally emailed them so many times that they finally just said, yes, we'll give you an interview. What did you say in those emails?
I was just like, hi, Greg. So just a little bit of context there. This was back when remote working wasn't so prevalent in the market. It was probably like 5-6 years ago. And they were a remote first company that really focused on travel. And they believed that you could do your job anywhere at any time. And so I just really once I saw that, I saw something on LinkedIn. I was like, I have to be there. And so the emails were just like, hey, I love your mission. I love your values. I love what what your company does and how you support different organizations and small businesses. I really have to work here. So I was just like, I don't care what context it's in. I just know that this is the place for me. And so those are some of the emails.
I love that. And how many do you think you sent?
At least 7. And then I even had Streak, I don't know if you know that Chrome extension, but this is very funny and maybe a little bit stalkerish, but there's this Chrome extension that tells you when someone opens an email and where. And so I would I would get notifications of when they opened it, and then I would respond. And then in one time it said that he was in Argentina when he opened the email. And I was like, hey, I've been to Buenos Aires. Would you want to chat about that? You should order a Media Luna. And then, so that's actually the email that got the response, because he's like, how do you know that? So just
amazing.
Fact.
So yeah. I love that you're sharing this story, Amelia, because I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with is feeling like we're being too pushy. And even when it comes to job applications, girls will be like, oh my gosh, can I send a follow-up email? Can I send 2 follow-up emails? And so I love this example of I sent 7. I was a complete stalker. I was literally tracking their location across the world when they were opening these. And the fact that the more stalkery you got, the better it worked out for you. And I may not work in every situation, but I think that it's just I wish people were more bold like that or willing to put themselves out. So I absolutely love that you were brave enough to do that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like no shame, right? This isn't like a relationship with a significant other. It's different, right? And yeah.
Yeah. You're not stalking your ex.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Clear distinction there. And we're keeping it professional. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, 7 emails. You were specific. They weren't like generic, like, hi, I would like an interview. This is about me. It was more like, I know your company, I know what you value, and this is why I think I would be a good fit. So I think that's such an amazing way to start. And that role, this was while you were living abroad, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So like the sandal factory was in Colombia. So I was able to work remote from there. And great, like when I started that position, there was a little pod of employees that were also in Colombia. So it's just a really nice environment while working for them. So
And so while you were living abroad and working, what was there anything that you learned while kind of managing, like getting to travel and then also working?
oh yeah, for sure. So there's a big difference between, traveling for fun and then traveling while working. I think something that's like super important is like you got to kind of settle in because reliable internet is so important. So like we think that we can just do it from our hotel room or this random coffee shop, but I'm telling you more often than not, those places do not support Zoom calls on video. So, I was able to like settle in. I say pick a co-working space and try and make a community there of other people doing something similar to you. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, there's so many
Mhm.
now co-working spaces in cities that you go to that will have that good Wi-Fi. I recently stayed at Selena Hostel, if you've heard of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Of
they
course, yeah, I was just there in Mexico, yeah.
oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're awesome. They have amazing like Wi-Fi, and you could like pay $10 a day to get access to their co-working space. But while I was in Sayulita, and they have other ones. Like they weren't nearly as nice as Selena. Like Selena's a really nice hostel,
Mhm.
but there's like other co-working spaces around there. And yeah, the Wi-Fi is so important. And like another hack is you could ask these places to send you screenshots of the Wi-Fi speed before you go and stay, so you know that you'll have a reliable connection.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right, so let's stick with this being intentional and persistent theme. What one of the other things that you mentioned to me is not to be afraid to reach out to people who have the job that you want. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So, along that theme of being intentional, it's like, let's say that you're passionate and you know that you want to work in marketing, but you're not sure where you land. I would say reach out to as many people as possible. Go on LinkedIn, identify your top 5 companies in that space and just keep hitting submit or connect as much as you can. And, invite them to coffee. Say, let's have a virtual coffee together. I'd love to learn more about what you do. I really admire the work that you've done for XYZ company. People love that. Like just how like we're sharing my story here. I can't tell you how many others who like love to share that story as well. It's like everyone's been there where they're trying to get their first position in marketing. So like don't have any fear. Everyone else has been in your spot at some time. So
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. And again, this goes with that theme of like being afraid of rejection, of not wanting to send those extra emails or not wanting to reach out to someone on LinkedIn in case they say no. And we definitely talked about that theme a lot on the podcast, but I think that's a really great way, first of all, to learn and to connect in a space is to reach out to people that have the job that you want, but also just like knowing that if you can also be persistent with them, if you send someone a message on LinkedIn and they don't respond, like follow up with them too. I know I get so many emails, LinkedIn messages, and
mhm.
oftentimes like I'll read something and forget to respond. And so I'm never upset when someone sends a follow-up email because typically it just like helps me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did totally miss that first message that you sent. So be persistent there too.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I would say just try as much as you can to, like, remove that stigma from your mind. You are of value, you have marketing skills, you bring something to the table. So, like, by you continuing to follow up and telling them that you're perfect for that position or wanna be in that role, it's like you're bringing them the value. Like, it's worth it. Like, you're worth it to be there. So you're not annoying them. You're letting them know, like, "Hey, I should be in this position," or, "I wanna be a part of this company." And so I
Yeah.
would say like my one kind of like quote with that is like, you can't get a yes if you never knock on the door. like if you don't try, you'll never know. So yeah.
You can't get a yes unless you knock on the door.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. One of the other things I absolutely love that was in your LinkedIn bio is that you said you are results oriented. And I know sometimes like if that becomes a cliche, I feel like I've like heard that now, but I
Mhm.
love that you said that because that is so closely to how I identify as myself, of like always being really results driven. And it like I remember my first job out of college really shifted my mindset on that, is especially within marketing, of like, how can I show that like when I did this, creative marketing effort, it had tangible results, or that I actually got numbers, or I drove revenue. And it's something that has really been a theme throughout Sky Society. I was mentioning to you, Amelia, about the accelerator that we do, where we have a marketing boot camp. And it's not just about like,
Mhm.
oh, get a certificate in marketing. It's like actually start a career in marketing and really shifting to that results oriented approach. So I'm crazy about all of that, but I would love to hear from your perspective. What does it mean to be results oriented throughout your career, throughout different marketing roles that you've held?
Sure. I would say, okay, we'll start with like the resume. I think it's really important on your resume. Don't just list out the things you've done, list out the things that you have done and then the results that have come with it. You kind of touched on that, right? Like, so let's say I launched a global social media campaign and it resulted in an increase in 10,000 followers with a 3% lift in sales. So really show off,
Exactly.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So then when it comes to projects and that you're working on at work, I think it's always good to control the narrative. So when you have a meeting that you're hosting, for example, I think come in with a plan, pre-share that agenda, right? Don't just come in and have the meeting and talk about random things. Like I love to, when I'm going to the meeting, like why are we having it? And what is the results that we want out of it? And then I think that also goes in like, especially in my roles that are program management or project management, I have a basically like we call it a waterfall plan that we hedge against. And so we know at all times, probably 3 to 6 months ahead, exactly why we're doing the things that we're doing. And I just think it's so important because then it's clear and then all the stakeholders can see where we're at. So.
And tell me, you had mentioned that for one of the jobs that you applied to, you were going to do social media marketing for them. So you created a social media plan for them as part of your interview. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. So this was actually for Jungle Scout. I had never been a social media manager before, and but I just really, really wanted that job, and so I went on Google and I figured it out. And I also had a couple. I leaned on my network. I had a couple good friends who thankfully were already in that position. So I was like, how do you do a day? How are you managing the post? Are you using different programs and things like that? And then they basically, showed me an insight into their job, showed me how they plan what they do. And then when I had the second interview with Jungle Scout, I came in with their first month of social media posts and said, hey, if you give me this job, I can turn this on next Monday and we can get rolling. So, and it worked. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
incredible. That is, girls ask me all the time, like, how can I stand out in an interview? And it's really
Mhm.
hard to do that. But I think coming like that is just a perfect example of what you could do that probably no other applicant did, of just, and really showing them like, I fit into your company. Because I think a lot
Mhm.
of times in interviews, you want to talk about us and like why we're so good. But I love like that you positioned yourself as someone that would thrive in their company and had, again, those incredible results to show for it.
Yeah, 100%. And like, don't be shy that like maybe you don't know what their KPIs are, or maybe you don't know, what they're working or striving towards for marketing. The fact that you still show up and you can show like the quality and the value of your work and what you would do, like that proactiveness really goes a long way.
Any other tips for standing out in interviews?
Let me think about that one. Show up 5 minutes early. That's an easy one.
There we
I
go.
would say, yeah, let your passion show through, right? Like do a little digging into that company and what they value. I always say go look at the about us, check their socials, right? Like that's what they're putting out into the world. And don't, I don't know, if that's a job that you really want and that passion can come through, I think it holds a lot of weight. So don't be scared to be yourself and be proud of what you bring to the table. Maybe you don't have all the skills that were on that job, board that they asked for, but if you're passionate and you show that you can figure it out and that you're eager and that you're really excited to be there, I think that goes a lot further than your years of experience or that you have all the skills that they've listed out.
Yeah, passion can definitely go a long way, and
Mhm.
like passion in the way of being persistent with emails, passion in the way of showing up with an extra project that you've done. None of those things have to do with your experience or your qualifications. Those are all things that just show that you, instead of telling the interviewer, hey, I go above and beyond, those are like two examples, at least from your career, where you've shown them, hey, this is what it looks like for me to go above and beyond. And that way they know the level that they can expect from you contributing to their team. Okay, Amelia, we're gonna do a little switch into salary. And I want to talk about your role at Meta. So you were doing social media, right, at Meta? Is that what you're doing there?
Yeah, pretty close. So it's more an internal. So like at Jungle Scout, it was external. At Meta, it was more internal. So I ran community groups. That's how they get product feedback there. And so like the primary product I worked on was shipping for marketplace. Kind of think of what Amazon does, but Meta's version of it. And these community groups would work with the marketing team and the product team so that we could get like immediate feedback loops. It's not common, so it's a great way for the teams to get feedback and to report on bugs.
So you were working there for a while and you were not at the salary that you felt that you deserved. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I had been there for a year and a half. I had an excellent manager. I was so happy that I was able to get out of the startup world and break into big tech. So thank you for that. And so basically, I really wanted to hit the 100K, right? I had never made over 100K in my entire career. I was making 74,000 there, and I was just like, I'm at a stage in my career where like I know that I'm worth it. I know what I bring to the table. So I made this goal with myself. It was in July, right before July 4th. And I'm like, I'm going to leave town for 2 months. I went on a road trip with a friend and I'm like, I'm not coming back till I double my salary. And I am just going to stick with this. And I know that I can do it. So, fun fact, 2 weeks into that road trip, I landed 2 jobs almost immediately at 2 different companies, both of which I was stoked about, and I did it. Both of the salaries were double, so in the 140 range, and so it was just really great. So I'm
Oh
telling
my
you, if you're
goodness.
not happy, make the jump. Yeah, yeah.
How were you able to jump that high in salary?
Um, I did a lot of research, and then I thankfully was put in touch with a contracting company that was based like an agency. It's called EM Marketing, and so they're based out of San Francisco. So I knew if I was looking for roles and I wanted to make that big of a jump, that if I was looking for companies kind of based in Austin, it'd be a bit harder for me to achieve that salary. So it's like if I go after companies based in San Francisco, I think making that jump will be a lot easier. And so thankfully, those 2 contracts or opportunities came through EM.
And did you negotiate your salary after you got the offer, or were both just a double your salary off the bat?
Okay, so yeah, a little more details there. So can I mention the company?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
think
Any
so.
details?
Yeah.
We love the
Okay, cool.
details here.
Okay, great. So one offer was from Dropbox. I was going to be their YouTube manager. I was going to help them ramp up a YouTube for their team. And so that offer was for 5 days a week at $80 an hour. So about 160,000, right? And then the other offer was at PayPal to kick up a customer reference program for their integrated marketing team. And that was a little bit less than the 140s, but it was only 4 days a week. And I have a side hustle that I'm pretty passionate about.
Mm.
So I was like, big decision here, the difference between 16,000, but then I'm still able to focus on my side hustle. And I knew that, the YouTube thing would be fun, but I'm like really, really passionate about SMBs and, championing for the story from different customers. So I went with the PayPal position. It was my dream job. I couldn't have been more elated. I was like jumping up and down about, oh my gosh. So
And talk to me a little bit more about these roles. So these are contract positions, correct? So this is an opportunity then for someone that does have a side hustle like you to be able to earn a regular income, maybe not have to work 40 hours, but still earn decent income.
yes, 100%. Like I'm a huge advocate of contract work. So I know it sounds a little bit scary because it's like I do a full-time job shares, and I know that this is my salary, and I just want it to be consistent. Well, the great thing is when you join one of these agencies like EM Marketing or Creative People, you're actually on a W-2. So you're actually an employee of that agency. You're just taking different contracts through them. So you get a lot of the same benefits. You still get healthcare, you still get a 401k match, and you still have that W-2. So I think it's actually great. And like if you're just breaking into it, it can give you a lot of flexibility. And I think it's easier to open the door than going the traditional FTE route. And it's also nice if you get bored on projects, like you like a lot of change. These contracts can be great because usually they're from anywhere from 3, 6 to a year. They often are extended, but it gives you this flexibility where you can come in, be the expert on something, and do what you came in to do. And then if you want to move on, you can. Like maybe you don't like that company culture, maybe you didn't get on so well with your manager, or things don't move as fast as you like, then you can make that shift. And then the agency actually helped you and they invest in you to help you move on to your next contract.
So the best way to find these roles then is through agencies?
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of them on LinkedIn. I have a very vast list. I'd love to just share with you. Maybe you can
Yeah,
share
that
with
would be
people. But
awesome.
yeah, yeah, I was really passionate about it for a while. It's funny. I was so excited about the new contract world that I found that I went and told all my friends. I think I've helped 6 different friends get a job since then in contracting. And so I'll send that your way.
I'm definitely going to be asking for that. That is amazing. Yeah, I've definitely heard like pros and cons of contract, but I love that
Mhm.
perspective that you're taking. And especially like, I know you do real estate too, and you have the side hustle, and that really leaves the door open for you to have more balance when it comes to work.
Mhm.
Wow. And you were able to make a crazy, crazy salary jump.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, life changing, 100% life changing. So
Yeah, that is insane.
mhm.
What advice would you have for someone? So you had this job at Meta, which sounds really cool. You get to work in a really
Mhm.
cool building. But like the salary like wasn't there. That was, where you felt like you were getting paid what you were worth. And I think there's a lot of people that may be in a similar position where they don't feel like their salary matches their worth, but maybe they're like too afraid
Mhm.
to actually go figure out what they're actually worth and go actually apply to jobs. Do you have any advice you could share there?
Yeah, for sure. I say, well, hit Glassdoor, right? Do research, reach out to the people in those dream positions, and don't have any shame in asking where they're at, right? Like, that's why we work. We work so that we can make money to live the lives that we want. So just really put that research in. And, like, for example, I was in a place where I knew program management would kind of tap out. And so then I made a transition into more product marketing because I knew that would command a higher rate than what I was making as a program manager. So just do the research and don't be afraid to reach out to people in positions that you want to be in and ask them.
Beautiful. Well, Amelia, do you have any last parting advice to share with women in marketing?
Yeah, I would just say don't be afraid and go after what you're passionate about and know your worth and be confident about it. And don't be scared to take jumps or take risks in your career because that's a positive, not a negative. So, and good luck to everyone looking for new jobs in marketing.
Yes, I love your story, Amelia, and I think this was hopefully inspirational for people who are feeling a little bit scared to make scary moves of going
Mhm.
and doing extra things above and beyond to try to get a job, or by potentially like applying to a new job and leaving a company or role where you feel comfortable to earn more. But it's
Mhm.
those places where you feel uncomfortable, where you really have an opportunity to grow and find something new. And I just know so many people from my past who would always talk about like they didn't like the situation, but were
Mhm.
always too afraid to actually do anything about it or actually go apply to
Yeah.
jobs. And like, because the scary thing about when you go apply to jobs is that you can get rejected and you can find out
Yeah.
that maybe you're not worth as much as you think that you're worth. And there's that fear there. But I love like your fire and your passion, and that you were just like relentless and bold through your journey. And I hope that other people listening really find that inspiring and will also take action in their career. So thank you again for coming on and sharing your advice, Amelia. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Take the leap and the world will rise to catch you. So thank you.